Now Danica has been left with egg on her face and humiliated once again. Today, after the recoupling, Danica chose Jay. Jay, who had earlier had a conversation with her about the fact that he'd rather choose to be with Antigoni and get to know her, that he felt they had a stronger connection. Why Danica then took this somehow to mean that she thought that, Jay would still pick her or still want to be with her, I don't know. But for the second time now, she's chosen someone who didn't want to be with her. She's chosen Jay in the same way that she chose Luca. It was a really humiliating experience. I had a lot of second-hand embarrassment for her, but I do feel bad for her. At one point, Antigoni stormed off. Paige went running after her, and she and the other girls, along with Gemma and Tasha, were having a chat when India walked along with Danica, and Paige basically asked them to, move along and to go away because they were basically speaking about Danica. I found that disgusting. I think it was in poor taste, and I'm really not liking the kind of hierarchical relationships and friendships that I'm seeing in the villa at the moment. It's really disgusting. There seems to be, people that are at the top like Paige and Gemma and Luca and Jax, and then you've got their kind of cronies around them, like I'd say India and Dami in the middle, Tasha and Andrew in the middle, but then you've got people like on the periphery, like Charlie, like Antigoni. She's likable, but she's also in the middle. But then Danica is definitely, I think, really marginalized and rejected. Now I can see how, she might rub people the wrong way because of the choices that she's made, but she's in there. She has every right to play the game. It is a game. She is a contestant and she has every right to pick and choose. Now, was this a good move? No. Should she have perhaps some, pride and self-respect not to choose a man again that doesn't want to be with her? That has to be really, a dejecting feeling. Somehow she says that her wires were crossed. I don't necessarily think this. I think that in a moment of desperation, she didn't want to be picked by Charlie. It's quite obvious that Charlie is definitely someone who the ladies don't find attractive in the villa. No one really wants to be paired up with him, which is why Antigoni was so annoyed and peeved that she is left with Charlie now, because Danica was like, no, no. She went for Jay, despite Jay telling her that he wants to get to know Antigoni. She just didn't want to put herself in that place. And I get it, but at the same time, this isn't looking good for Danica. And this is the problem sometimes, I think, with Love Island, the type of spaces that women, particularly women of colour, find themselves in on this show, where outside of this villa, Danica would have first picks. You can imagine the attention that she gets. She's a very, very attractive young lady. She has a good personality. I can imagine her self-esteem hasn't really taken much of a hit in the dating world. But in this villa, she is being made to feel like rubbish and treated as such. And I think it's absolutely disgusting. To be honest, it's really difficult to watch how she's being marginalised by the girls, and I do think there's jealousy involved, but at the same time, because it is also a popularity contest in that villa and she's not popular, popularity becomes collateral in there, and so therefore Danica loses, even though she probably is, one of the better looking people in there. So that's absolutely disgusting. I hate the way she's being treated. I really think those girls should be ashamed of themselves. Now let's have a look at some people's reactions to what has happened in the villa tonight. One person, Kletso Black, says, at this point they're just humbling her and crushing her self-esteem. It's not cute. Nobody wants to be with a Luca reject because he's the ringleader of the Mandem. I totally agree with this. I think that at the moment, because Luca is leading the group in a negative way, and they've kind of cast her off as a marginalized person on the outside of the group. it has an effect. It has a domino effect, and people don't actually want to be coupled up with her. I think the only person that would have been a viable choice would have been Andrew, had they enabled Danica to choose before Tasha, which they should have done. But that hasn't happened. And also Charlie's a gentleman, but obviously she didn't want to be with him. Next, Claire Bear says, I'm worried for her mental health after this show. She's getting such a tough time of it. Everyone is treating her like trash. Exactly. This reminds me exactly of the time that Samira had, except I don't think Samira got the same level of hate in the house, although I did notice little microaggressions between herself and some of the guys, such as Josh at the time. But yeah, her self-esteem really has taken a hit on this show, and I really hope that she can understand that it's a micro environment. It's not, it's not life. It's not her reality when she gets out of that villa. Jennifer Healy says, because people are explicitly saying no and she's disregarding them, that was a poor move from Danica. I completely get that. I agree. I was really kind of angry that she picked someone who had clearly said to her that they'd rather be coupled up with someone else. I do think that she completely disregarded that, and in the moment she panicked. She was selfish. She didn't want to be left with leftover Charlie, basically, and this is what she's gotten. However, does she deserve the treatment she's gotten from the girls? That poor reception, them asking her in India to kind of leave them to have that chat about her behind her back? Absolutely not. And Chris says the producers should have let Danica choose before Tasha, and she would have picked Andrew, and it would have been exactly what Tasha deserves. But now they're making Danica out to be the villain for having to choose between the scraps. Exactly that. This is what I just said. This wouldn't have been a problem if they'd allowed her to pick Andrew. Andrew's a nice guy, he's a gentleman, and yes, he is absolutely smitten and whooped by his girlfriend, by his couple who he's partnered up with, which is Tasha. And yeah, Danica was shafted, but she also did shaft herself. What do you think of this? What do you think about Danica's stay in the villa now? What will happen? Do you think she will manage to make it to Casa Amor? Because now there's going to be a vote for the most popular couple, and I can imagine that she and Jay might be at the bottom along with Tasha and Andrew, possibly, and maybe, Antigoni and Charlie as well. It'll be really interesting. I think between those three couples, it's definitely going to be one of them that leaves. Tasha and Andrew, I think Tasha's annoyed people enough to possibly get voted off now, but to be honest, I'd love to see Danica make it to Casa Amor. She really deserves that chance. She deserves to meet someone new and make a connection with someone. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Was she ridiculous for choosing Jay, or can you see why she chose who she wanted to choose, and not make the choice that was the acceptable choice? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.